And welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Steins. In the last episode, Rintaro sent a email cancelling out the one that he sent himself 4 days ago, or 5 days ago really, in order to keep him from pursuing Suzuha. As a result, Suzuha's time machine was not damaged by the thunderstorm and she was able to go back to 1975. Unfortunately, it seems that the worldline effect, or the butterfly effect, is still in order, because even though the unfortunate circumstances in the previous episode have now been undone as a result of the contradictory email that was sent, unfortunately the events are still the same. The cause is different, but the effects are the same. Suzuha Amane, known in the past as Suzu Hashida, has unfortunately passed away 10 years prior, in the year 2000. This time though of natural causes. But unfortunately that does put us in a bit of a dilemma, because since she's not here to bestow us with the IBN 5100, we're still stuck in the Alpha World lines. And apparently Tennouji is taking us to his house to pay respects to Suzuha. From Chidori we head to the station. I scan the Akaba scenery as we walk. Moe stores are still nowhere to be found on this world line. Instead, all the old electronic stores are back in business, thanks to Ferris's D-mail. After a little hesitation, I look up at the radio building. It's gone. The satellite has vanished. All that's left is the hole it made when it arrived in this time.
例の人工衛星、いつ消えたんでしたっけ?
Tennouji's answer is going to be very important.
ああ、5日前ぐらいじゃなかったか。世の中、奇妙なことが起きるもんだな。
He seems fairly subdued, which is somewhat uncharacteristic of him. Also, the fact that the satellite disappeared 5 days ago, which means Suzuha left before it rained, which is very fortuitous, but unfortunately not entirely fortuitous. Like Tennouji said, his house is closer than expected. We take the train to the next station, Okajimachi, and then walk for about 5 minutes to a quiet residential area. This old one-story house is where Suzuha once lived, under the name of Suzu Hashida. I walk up to the front of the house, and there I see a familiar sight. Suzuha's bicycle. For a moment I can see her there, squatting beside the bicycle. But the mountain bike Suzuha rode to the Braun workshop was shining anew. Now it's old and covered in rust. That's 35 years would do that to any object.
その自転車は
Over time.
すずさんがすっげえ大事にしてたんだよ。
And it's amazing that you don't seem to remember the fact that your part-time assistant had a mountain bike exactly like it.
晩年は自分で乗ることはなかったけどな。それでも週に一度はフレームを磨いてた。
And apparently, even in her, well, not old age, since she was still technically 44 when she passed away, Suzuha would still clean her bike. I guess old habits really do die hard.
処分することもできなくて、結局10年もそこに置いたままだ。 俺もできるだけ整備はしてるんだが、さすがに錆が目立ってきてるな。
In the end, Tennouji kept Suzuha's mountain bike as a keepsake. Little does he realize the significance of his actions. I gently put my hand on the seat. It's warm from sitting out in the sun. I suppose that for the few days Suzuha was in Akiba, this bicycle existed at two places in the same time. The house isn't as messy inside as I expected, considering the state of the Braun tube workshop. It's a quaint little residence. I guess that chipmunk keeps the place clean. A wave of nausea hits me as I recall what Nai did on Chanomizu Station. It wasn't her fault. I tell myself that it was just an accident. Besides, that incident has already been undone. Nai Tennouji has done nothing wrong. Next to the living room is a child's room. There's a child's study desk and a red backpack on the floor. Nai isn't here. Probably for the best, otherwise I think Tennouji would be in his usual grouchy mood. Which reminds me, Tennouji's daughter visits the workshop often, but not once have I seen his wife. Well, there are two scenarios we can deduce from this point. Either Tennouji and his wife divorced, either under amicable or unamicable circumstances, or the second, and probably more realistic though no less painful, is the fact that, like Suzuha herself, Tennouji's wife and Nai's mother has also passed on from this world. Commiserations. He couldn't have married Suzuha, could he? Definitely not. I mean, she should have been a lot older than him when they met. But as they say, love knows no bounds. I wonder what really happened. I don't know how I'd feel if those two were married. I think Tennouji would actually agree with you there. That would make Daru Tennouji's father-in-law. Actually, that would kind of be interesting. No. Disturbing would be the word I would use, given the fact that we'd have not necessarily a time paradox, but a very convoluted series of events altogether. I turned to the Buddhist altar to pay my respects to Suzuha. There's no picture of her, so there's no way to know what Suzu Hashida or Suzu Hashida looked like at the age of 44. I'm guessing that she took the time to actually remove the braids that she wore as a teenager. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure that would have sparked Tennouji's curiosity and or suspicions. I make an offering of incense to her, then look around the house again. This is the house Suzuha lived in after leaping to 1975.
俺とすずさんは最初、いわゆるお隣さんだったんだよ。
Apparently, Tennouji lived next door to Suzu when she was residing in this place, it would seem. For some reason, Tennouji offers me a beer. I never like to drink during the day, or the afternoon for that matter. Evening is fine, but it's still too early for that. When I decline, he shakes his head and starts drinking it himself.
ヨーロッパ生まれのヨーロッパ育ちでな。
Apparently, Tennouji was born and raised outside of Japan, which is certainly interesting.
それはギャグですか？
んだよてめえ。俺は英語もフランス語もペラペラだぞほら。
Apparently he knows English and French. He really doesn't look like somebody who's ever lived abroad. I guess you can't judge a book by its cover. Indeed, it's pretty much the same with Daru.
両親が死んで15年ぐらい前に日本に帰ってきたんだよ。でも俺にとっては生まれて初めての日本だった。
So, Tennouji himself was an orphan when he first arrived in Japan. That's
この
rather
国について何に
unfortunate.
も知らねえ俺の面倒を見てくれたのが隣に一人で住んでたすずさんだったってわけだな。
Apparently, Tennouji was falling on hard times, and fortunately a lifeline was handed in the form of none other than Suzu Hashida. Now's my chance. If I'm gonna ask, it's now or never. I would rather go with never at this point, but it's your funeral.
結婚？
I'm guessing that, yeah, that was a bit awkward there, Rintaro.
アホか。
That is exactly the response that I was expecting from you there. Phew. I knew she'd never marry a guy like him.
あの人は随分ストイックに生きてたよ。人付き合いもあまりなかったみたいだ。
Yeah, I would, let's say that actually fits the Suzuha to a T. As lively and perky as she was as a teenager, she still had her, her mission from 2036 to take into account.
けどな、俺にはよくしてくれた。
Well, funny that's not actually that surprising, but we don't need to tell you about that.
1年ぐらい経った時、俺の家が火事で全焼してな。まあ、俺のタバコの不始末が原因だから自業自得なんだ。
Apparently, Tennouji burned his own house down, which is somewhat reckless of him.
その時に全財産なくした俺をこの家で下宿させてくれたんだ。
And fortunately, Suzuha let Tennouji stay here.
それだけじゃねえ。工房のあるあの大檜山ビルな。あれもともとすずさんの持ち物だったんだろ。
And interestingly enough, Suzuha purchased the building in which the Braun Tube Workshop and the Future Gadget Lab both currently reside. I suppose it's better than letting CERN have it.
それを格安で譲ってもらったんだ。おかげで俺はブラウン管工房を構えることができたってわけだ。
And thanks to her that the Future Gadget Laboratory exists as well, as I just said.
俺の恩人だよ。
It seems that Tennouji is eternally grateful to Suzu Hashida. Little does she know that the woman who saved his life is also the part-time warrior that he was just chiding not too long ago.
ある時、なんだって縁もゆかりもねえのにこんなによくしてくれるんですかって聞いたことがあんだが、そしたらあの人は笑ってこう答えたよ。巡り巡って人は誰かに親身にしてもらうことになってる。だから君もいずれ誰かに親身にしてあげなさいってな。
I hope you take those words to, you've taken those words to heart, Tennouji.
なんだか不思議な人だったぜ。預言者みたいにこれから起きる出来事をピタリピタリと言い当てたりしてな。
Something tells me that she had rather unique intuition there. Suzuha. That was probably her way of repaying Tennouji for looking after her, even if it was just for 10 days. And so it came full circle.
しか かし世間ってのは狭いな。あの人のことを知ってる人間がこんな近いところにいたとは。
It is a very, very small world indeed.
そうだ。ちょっと待ってろ。
And Tennouji goes off into the child's room next door and returns with and places an object on the table.
Huh?
Could it be the IBN 5100? No, but it's something just as good. It's Suzuha's divergence meter, which currently reads 0.409431, not 37 as I mistakenly said in the previous episode, so I'm correcting my mistake there. Before the worldline changed, it was in the lab, and it was also at 0.33%, and I can't remember the last 4 digits. But on this world line, Suzuha brought the meter with her to 1975, since she gave it to us after we intercepted her. It's been in this house for 35 years. Divergence has changed, just like Suzuha said. Curiously enough, by cancelling out the D-mail to intercept Suzuha, we've actually jumped a little bit forward to, not by much, but a little bit closer to the all-important 1%. This proves that my magic eye reading Steiner does indeed allow me to perceive changes to the world line. But what does this percentage mean? I recall what Suzuha said.
メーターの数値が 1% を超えたとき、君はベータ世界線にたどり着いたことになる。
When the meter reads over 1%, you've made it to the beta world line. Well, we've made a start of sorts, I suppose. Does that mean I'm still on the alpha world line? Since it's currently below 1%, I would certainly say yes.
それ何の数字を表してるかわかるか？
Couldn't entirely begin to tell you.
いや、さっぱりわからなくてな。この10年、その数字からピクリとも変わりゃしねえ。ただ、すずさんは病床からいつもこのメーターを眺めてた。
I'm not entirely surprised. And actually, that is the drawback of the divergence meter in reading Steiner. Because if you remember, when the world line changes, everyone else's memories and experiences get rewritten to accommodate that change. And since Rintaro is the only one who can retain the memories of those changes, it's not surprising that to everyone else in those alternate world lines that meter would not have changed.
上ごとのようにつぶやいてたよ。この数字は変わる前なのかな、変わった後なのかな、私は変えられたのかな。
It is sadly unfortunate that Rintaro was not there to answer that question.
そんな風に一日に何回もな。見てて痛々しいほどだった。
And apparently Tennouji found the whole experience somewhat painful. I touched the device. Suzuha. In my heart, I reach out to the girl who died 10 years ago, to the girl who will be born 7 years from now, to the girl who crossed time to save the future. Suzuha. Thanks to you, my Yuri is safe. I still have that niggling doubt in the back of my mind. I mean, the events of the 13th have certainly been nullified, but because we're still on the Alpha World line, I'm not entirely sure. But divergence has changed. Yet we haven't reached your ultimate goal. 1% divergence. So small and yet so large. Once that is achieved, the future you dreamed of will become a reality. I will carry on your fight, Suzuha Mane, Suzu Hashida. I promise. I realize that I am crying. Now this is embarrassing. Rintaro crying in front of Tennouji. He's never going to let us live it down. Tennouji stares at me for a moment, then puts his giant hand on my shoulder. Apparently he is somewhat sympathetic to us. And now we're back in the streets of Akihabara, and Mayuri is calling out to us. But I believe this is a good time to end the episode, so when we return, adventurers, we shall see what Mayuri wants with us, and why she's calling out to us in the middle of the street. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.